There's a lot of cultural and also leadership things that you will need to change based on the culture, based on the company you work for, but also based on the different kind of positions you work with. I definitely, even still today after so many years, I still have to take myself on the way I communicate has to be less direct. If you communicating with your employees and they don't understand you, they are somehow too polite to tell you that whatever you just said, I didn't understand a word, but I will just say yes, sir. And I think in the beginning, I can get frustrated a little bit. If you're a new leader in Vietnam, you have to ensure that you build a good communication with your employees, that you kind of building a core team.
Hello, welcome back to Unlock Potential with David Archibald. Today I've got someone special joining me, not just a business leader I admire, but a dad I bump into at the school drop-off. Alexander Olsen has led teams and built organizations across Europe, US, Canada, and most recently, right here in Vietnam. He's someone who understands the real challenges of leadership, not just across borders, but across mindsets. As he prepares to take on his new role outside of Vietnam, I wanted to sit down with him and talk about what he's learned, what he's proud of, and what it really means to lead with purpose. We also talk about family, including what kind of example he hopes to set for his son, Lucas. This one is packed with insight and heart, so let's get into it. Alexander, thanks for coming in today and joining me. Now, you've worked in literally 4 different major markets, really. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up here in Vietnam and what you're doing now.
Yeah, thank you, David, and thank you for having me. Yeah, correct. I've been working in Europe, in US, short time in Canada as well, and then now for the past 9 years in Vietnam. So I used to work for a Danish company where I relocated to the US and was leading a small team there. After visa expiring, etc., as in the US, the visa can be a challenge. I moved on for a short time in Canada while we were working on my kind of new next assignment in Asia. And at that time, Vietnam was really on the radar. So everyone was talking about China plus one, switching supply chain from China into Vietnam, and Vietnam was really booming. So the company decided to relocate me into Vietnam, which was a great opportunity at that time. So I was with that company for a kind of a two year kind of assignment, like the traditional old school expat.
Okay.
And then after a while, I was approached by like a Vietnamese company, actually the biggest logistic company in Vietnam, and thought it was a great opportunity to stay in Vietnam and also try to explore more the opportunities that the Vietnam logistic market has.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a lot of stuff going on with the logistics market right now.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that you took the time to come talk to us a little bit today. What are some of the biggest differences you see as a leader between Europe and North America and then here in Asia?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of differences, and Denmark specifically, because logistics is such a big market, we have a specific education for like logistics and supply chain and shipping, freight forwarding, whereby in other markets like the US and Asia, you don't have specific education. So I would say in Europe, at least especially in Denmark, the kind of level of education in the industry is quite high. And of course, with the companies like Maersk and DSV, the Danish companies has a huge market share globally on the world supply chain. So I would say in Europe, we see a little bit maybe higher competition internally, higher candidate quality, as well as kind of a sexy industry. In the US, very different, right? In the US, the logistics, supply chain, freight forwarding is kind of a less sexy industry. It's a little bit, people in the US spend a lot of money going to college, universities, etc., getting a master degree. And the logistic industry is not really, so to say, a master degree industry. Mm-hmm. So in the US, I felt that was way more difficult to attract talent. Mm-hmm. Maybe one of the reasons I was relocated to the US was because that they had difficulties finding talent in the US who you could get from a decent pay, and especially I moved to San Francisco, which of course with during the tech boom and hard to find qualified employees. So that was a little bit more of a challenge. but obviously a big market, right? The biggest logistic market in the world, as an import country at least, or biggest demand country. So that's a little bit different challenges that you would have in Europe. Europe, way smaller markets, more competition, more easy to find candidates, but different culture. Then moving to Asia, again, you have a completely different challenges again. You have a big workforce, you have a young population, you have a lot of people where, again, the industry becoming a big industry. Again, manufacturing in Vietnam being such a big part of the GDP, that logistics is also a big industry and a popular industry. So there, the completely different is very, I mean, the entire atmosphere is different again, and the talent you can get. People again coming with master degrees, they coming with good education. They very hungry to feel what is the industry that they're working in. So I think that's a big kind of the differences, so to say, in our industry. Of course, culturally there's a lot of differences as well.
Yeah, I noticed for us, finding good talent is very difficult, and almost all of my managers are people we built up throughout the company. Is it the same for logistics? Are you able to get some outside talent? It's okay.
I think it's better. I would say it's better than other industries. Again, because the industry is such a big industry in Vietnam. However, of course, it's always a challenge to attract the right talent. And there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of big companies here. There's a lot of international kind of established companies here as well who can attract talent as well. For us, I think, however, we're still trying to do a little bit of the combination with build, buy, borrow, right? So part of it a little bit is what we have to build internally, continuing to build talent by management trainee programs, mentorship programs, try to get the best students by attracting them with different type of education programs, as well as trying to, of course, find talent in the market, which we still need to do. We cannot build enough talent ourselves for the growth we have, and we will still need to attract talent from the market, which I still think is somehow better comparing to people like yourself or colleagues or friends living in Vietnam. I feel their industries might be more challenge to find talents and specialists versus the logistics.
Oh yeah, I like that build, buy, and borrow framework. That's actually really good. I pretty much, that's what I'm following in a way. As a CEO, what's one of the things that you maybe instruct HR when they're actually looking to recruit? What's one of the main things you're looking for as a...
I would say attitude is number one.
Yeah.
By far more important than the CV. The attitude of the candidate, I would say, is number one. Secondly, we are trying to have a kind of a specific strategy. And for us, it's important that the employees buy into that strategy. So we spend a lot of time in the interview, not only asking the candidate questions and getting the answers and try to make an assessment, but also trying to explain who we are and explain what is the strategy. We have a very clear kind of saying we want to be national champions. So we are a kind of a local Vietnamese company to some extent. Of course, we have foreign investors and foreign management, but we are a local company. We are a majority Vietnamese company. And for us, our employees need to buy into that we want to be the biggest in Vietnam. We don't need to be a global dominant player, but we want to be the biggest here in our market, and they need to build into or buy into the kind of strategy that if they work with us, they need to try to build and create a company that is Vietnamese but with international standards and with international service levels, and at the same time be proud of being a dominant local hero.
Yeah, that's really good. As a CEO, how do you cast vision? Like, what do you think is maybe the critical points of that?
So I think that any company should have a specific strategy on where they want to be the best. I see a lot of our colleagues in the industry who try to be the best at everything. And I think you're losing momentum. So in general, for myself, at least my personal view is that we need to identify where is the areas that we want to be the best. We are, again, the asset company. So at the end of the day, we want to be the best to operate and run assets. Our customers can be anything from a logistic company to a direct manufacturer. But everything we try to do, we try to incorporate our ecosystem. So I think the vision that a company need to have needs to be very clear, also for the employees to understand what is we're going for. So they're not trying to sell to a segment that we're not really focusing on, or they're trying to take the company in different directions. So I think the vision for us is still really the clear strategy, the clear customer segment, and really understand that the vision that we have built is what we have to communicate to 3,000 employees.
Yeah. Now, for somebody that might be new to Vietnam in a CEO role or country manager role, what's one thing you think they should really pay attention to?
From a leadership perspective, I feel that in Vietnam that engagement and communication and emotion somehow is more important than in other countries that I have worked in. I feel that in Vietnam that you need to be able to communicate. Of course, the population is young, Gen Z, etc. That can have challenges, and it might be different in US and Europe now compared to when I lived there. But I still see that definitely communication is the key. And if you're a new leader in Vietnam, you have to ensure that you build a good communication with your employees, that you kind of building a core team. Actually, my biggest advice to a new leader in Vietnam will be that your core team, because you maybe not speaking Vietnamese, or maybe you have other lack of experience, or you come in from another industry, or you come in from a different company with different mindset, you need to have a core team around you that can be your ears and guide you, and that can mentor you on how to be a good CEO in this company. So I have used that myself as well. The people that I work with today is people I've been working with for many, many years, and also in different companies and in different positions. And they should also have the goal that if I'm successful, they're successful, because they will go together with me along the way.
Yeah, that's great. So you've been here for almost 9 years, and now you're going to move on.
Yeah.
What's something that you're really proud of that you've accomplished here in Vietnam?
What I am most proud of by far is the fact that I have been working with a Danish company for so many years, and had the guts and took a chance to try to move on to a local company. Especially at that time, it's probably even more local than it is today. This was prior to a lot of international investment. And I think I'm very proud of being able to adapt and navigate through a, so to say, local player. Of course, still a big professional company, but still trying to navigate how to be more fit with the culture, how to manage in a company where not everyone can speak English. My previous job, everyone spoke English because that's a requirement.
Sure.
Now here we have anything from truck drivers to warehouse workers to port workers to blue label to blue collar to kind of lawyers to finance,
right.
etc. So I think I'm most proud of the way that I've been able to adapt to that and also bring in value to a company that we have taken from about 150 million to about $800 million revenue in those years. And also being part of it, of course, we are a big group, we have many companies, but being part of that journey and being part of coming from also slightly asset-light company to a very asset-heavy company and to a kind of transformation the company. In ITL, we have these every 5 years we do a transformation. I joined in the second transformation.
Okay.
And now we are kind of halfway through the third transformation. And every 5 years, we kind of make a plan, a roadmap, whether that is on the asset side or technology side, and where is our company 5 years from now. So,
wow, that's awesome. Man, that's a big jump, almost $1 billion. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's quite a good journey.
That is pretty impressive. What are some of the things that you had to change when you became a leader in Vietnam that, were culturally adjusted, or maybe mindset?
I think the fact that I have to be less direct. Maybe already when I jumped from Denmark to the US, I had to go a scale down in terms. I think in Denmark we may be more direct than in all cultures, and I definitely, even still today after so many years, I still have to take myself on the way I communicate has to be less direct, and it has to be more kind of the politics maybe is a little bit more important, right? The way that you communicate, the way you make sure that people don't lose phrase in front of other. I mean, there's a lot of cultural and also leaderships things that you will need to change based on the culture, based on the company you work for, but also based on the different kind of positions you work with, right? So again, very diversified in our company, from lawyers to investment teams to blue labor, etc. That the way you communicate with each of them has to be different, and you really need to adjust yourself when you work. And you work with kind of a cost of use.
Yeah, there's a big gap between blue collar, white collar, and then exactly between each segment. Yeah. But I think, just the respect that you show, it doesn't matter who they are. That's exactly one of the big things that goes a long ways here, showing respect with that. Absolutely. Now, I know you personally because my son Davey and your son Lucas have gone to the same school now for almost 2 years together, and they're more like brothers than they are classmates. Now I've watched you from afar. I've seen you on the playground a lot. What are the challenges you see as a CEO and then having a family?
Time, of course, travels. I do have at least 100 days a year traveling, right? So I think that part will make is always challenge to kind of balance the work life. The work life balance is important. I have an amazing wife who have a full understanding that I do need to travel for work, and I do need to also have long hours. But then the most important thing is, I think when you're there, you have to be there. I think we all take ourselves some time where, of course, we're there, but then we're not really there, right? So I think the most important thing is to remind yourself that now is time with your kids, and now I spend my time with Lucas, and then I have to do that 100%.
Yeah.
Put away the phone, go to the playground, do whatever that has to be that he wants to do, so that when you're there, you're present. Because, of course, in terms of hours, I'm there less than my wife is, but I think at the same time, you have to make sure you'll be the fun dad at least.
Oh, you are the fun dad. My son always wants to go where you're at. It's pretty awesome because he's not really wanting to be around people too much, but when he's with you, he's happy, and I see that. You're very engaged, and your son's always. If I see him and you're not there, I'm like, hey, where's your dad? Oh, he's out of town. He knows what's happening and what's going on, so it's pretty awesome. Now, what are some things that you want Lucas to pick up on leadership that you do, on a day-to-day basis that you're hoping your son's paying attention to?
From a leadership perspective, I think, of course, be kind, right? I mean, I think that's the most important thing. Be hardworking. I think that no matter what you do, as long as you work as hard as you can and you do your best every day, then that's okay. And then people who don't make mistakes are people who don't do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
So I keep saying that also to our employees, that if you don't make any mistake, that's because you don't do any work. So everyone makes mistakes. Move on from those mistakes, learn from them, and then keep going. Everyone would forget those mistakes in a week from now.
That's right.
For you today is the end of the world, but again, next week everyone forgot about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Wow. What are some of the things that you've noticed that younger people, you got a lot of younger people in your company, what are some of the things that you've noticed that really stand out in this Gen Z and how you as a CEO can help lead them better?
That's a very good question. I think that engagement, and part of it is to do with social media as well, because their friends or their schoolmates or colleagues or whatever, they are posting on social media. So when their friends have lunch with their boss, they will see it right away every single day. And they will think, oh, I never have lunch with my boss. Oh, I must work for a bad company, or whatever it is, right? So I think that the engagement, the communication is way more important now. When when I was young, and I'm sure it's the same with you, then I mean, we didn't know what our friends were doing in their company. We actually didn't know at all, because there was no way to share it on LinkedIn, there was no way to share it on Facebook, there was no way to share it on social media. So when we met with our friends, our conversations were not about that exactly, right? It was just more how it works is good. And then we talked about football and basketball and whatever that might be. I think now your professional life is such a big part of your social media, your friends, etc., that you have to be really good at navigating through how you engage them, how you make sure they have achievement, even they might be lower level, right? So we're trying as an example to do different programs for kind of the younger generation. We're making sure that even our chairman who's based in Singapore come meet with actually our young talent. These are, again, we have about 30 or 40 management trainees who come straight from university that then starting on a 2-3 year program on how to be a leader and learning different leadership skills. But we have to make sure we take time across all the young generation, make sure that they feel important as well. I think that's a key also, that of course they are very important. So there's also a matter to let them share, let them come with some ideas, let them kind of be part of a lunch or be part of a meeting, and be just engagement really is so important, more than we will know, because maybe when we started in our industries, we didn't have that chance, but we also expected no one else to have the chance.
Correct.
So now I think its expectation is that you need to communicate, you need to have more town halls, you need to have more engagement, you might even need to be more on social media. I think what you guys are doing here is amazing, right? I mean, coming into the lobby and I can see that you guys are on some live streaming, whatever. I think that is actually engagement for the employees as well as is good marketing.
Yeah, correct. Nowadays, I mean, the cell phone is the greatest attention.
It is.
And everyone's glued to it one way or another. So if you're not doing something on there, you know, you might be left behind, and it changed. I noticed in my own journey that as time goes on, like somebody that was maybe, you know, in their 40s or 50s at work were driven with, I want to get a promotion, or I want, more money. And as the longer I've been in it and the younger people start filling in, I noticed they need more of a purpose. They almost need a mission or a real vision to feel good about what they're doing also.
Right. Yeah.
So what are the ways that you guys have incorporated that into, the world champions thing, but what else?
Very good question. I think we're trying a lot of different things to engage. No one is perfect, of course, but I think that in general, we're trying to incorporate different awards. Even now, in these months here, we have a green race. So that is for every 3 kilometer you run, we plant a tree.
Oh, wow.
So across all the 3,000 employees. And there we have different groups, we have different competitions, who run the most this week, and whatever. But this is still a good engagement. So actually the entire leadership group have also signed up in different groups. Okay. So I also signed up with a group where maybe people I don't talk to every day, right? So it's like it could be in the sales team, or it could be in some partnership teams, or etc., where I sign up with their group. So then I'm part of a 20 people group who then run, and then we give each other targets every week, and if we achieve this target, whoever run the least have to buy milk tea or whatever it might be. But that's just engagement across, because when you have so many employees, you cannot do engagement for everyone. Correct. But this is a way that everyone is engaged, and we also have both in terms of individual ranking, but also as a group, and try to engage. Cool. So just an example that's going on right now. But otherwise we try, of course, as many things as we can. We have for all the drivers, we have some different driver competition in terms of who drive least accidents or most environment friendly training, and who have try to measure how much kind of gasoline they use or diesel they use on per kilometer, and then trying to kind of motivate people through that and make competitions, and we have monthly happy hours and stuff like that in the office, where we have, could be ice cream, it could be kind of stuff. That's
really cool. So you got company run clubs basically, and then you're in how many cities you guys have footprint here?
So we have quite a few. Of course, from office space, we have 4 major cities in Vietnam, and then we have Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos as well. And then across that, we also have our warehouses, and so we have, of course, Ho Chi Minh, Da Nang, Hanoi, Haiphong as being the main office, customer service, customer-facing offices. But then, of course, in any industrial park, we have a warehouse, and and they also have a big team, right? So, so they, even the ones I looked at this morning, those are number 1 is our Backnin warehouse, and right now we're ranked number 1 in this running competition. So this is a very good way to engage.
Yeah, that's awesome. I might have to do that, but I can't run very much right now.
I also mostly walk, to be honest.
Exactly. Yes. What are you going to miss the most about Vietnam?
I mean, obviously the people, and that's so easy to say, but I do believe that the service level, the kind of engagement, the way that the smiles. I mean, I think it's a very happy place to be in many ways, right? And you're always welcome with a smile, and I think there is the humor, I think all that part, of course, compiling will be what I will miss the most, but that's the people for sure.
For sure.
And just the quality of life here is also very good, So, but of course, for family reason, I think it's also that's the reason we're gonna go back to Denmark. I will still be a lot in Vietnam, which I'm very happy to be able to split my time between Vietnam and Denmark as much as I will be able to. So, but I will definitely miss the day-to-day life in Vietnam.
The people are very kind here.
Exactly.
You know, the Vietnamese people are great. You know, I tell a story that I went when I very first moved to Vietnam. I mean, before I moved to Vietnam, I was here for a couple weeks and I really liked it. And the next day I was Christmas Eve. I flew back Christmas Eve. Christmas morning, I got up to run, and I was going to run like 5 miles that morning. And I came back with the same attitude that I had when I was there. I said, "Good morning, everybody. Hi, people." And everybody's so nice to you. Literally, I ended up counting 22 people I came across that I said Merry Christmas or Good morning, and they didn't even acknowledge me.
Correct.
It's like, wow, you know, it was such a stark difference, and I see that here for sure, and that's something that's pretty awesome. And it's good that you're going to be able to come back and forth, so that's important. Okay, so what do you think, when you came from USA, Canada, and then you came here, what's the biggest leadership change that you had to make?
Communication for sure is the biggest change, right? I think that obviously in Denmark I spoke Danish. In the US spoke English, everyone. That was the first language. So, and then coming here, the language barrier is something that you need to understand. I think in the beginning it frustrated me a little bit. Of course, I have an accent as well, right? Of course, English is not my first language, so I have an accent. And I felt that in the beginning, because it's so polite and so friendly, that even when I spoke and they say, "Yes, sir," but I didn't understand it, right? So I think that part I had to get used to, that if you communicating with your employees and they don't understand you, they are somehow too polite to tell you that whatever you just said, I didn't understand a word, but I will just say yes, sir. So I think that part, it took me a while to understand. And I think in the beginning, I even get frustrated a little bit. We agreed we should do this, but you didn't. And that was just because of language barrier. Additionally, I think the population in general is quite much younger, which is something that you also have to adjust, right? You cannot have the same kind of communication. You cannot have maybe the same directness, right, that you would have in the US. So from a leadership perspective, you have to be careful that you don't communicate too fast. You have to be careful you don't be too direct, that you have to make sure you don't necessarily hurt what someone's feeling. And that's, I think, is different from both Europe and US, where we maybe have a little bit of an understanding that our boss can be mean sometimes, but he mean well. I think here you have to be a little bit more careful.
For sure. When I first was here, I was just talking up a storm, and then a couple days later, like, what happened to that? Why didn't that get fixed? And after that happened for a couple years, then I realized, okay, hold on, I need to have someone come in behind me. And so then I'd have my PA come in and at least give the bullet points of what boss was asking. Because it is get frustrating, and I don't ever get mad at somebody if they didn't understand me, because I mean, obviously we're the foreigners. This is our fault that they don't understand, not their fault. And I think that if you've tried to learn Vietnamese, it's not easy, man.
So
it's not easy. And I tried for a little while, and I finally said, okay, I just got to accept that I'm not going to be fluent in Vietnamese anymore, and then have somebody there to really help come in. And I think that is truly one of the most important things you need to do from day one if you came here as a new CEO, country manager. For sure. For sure.
The support roles here are so important, right? I think if you have good people around you, whether that is your peers or your managers or other supporting staff that can help you to navigate and to translate and to understand and make sure that everyone is on the same page, and also tell you the feedback. Hey, you speak too fast, or you no one understands what you're saying, or what. I mean, because again, we are the one who speak a foreign language. It's not them, right? So we have to really make sure that we're doing a really good job on trying to understand.
For me. If someone says, "Boss, I don't understand," I mean, that's like, I want to give that guy, hey, that's
100%.
Hey, man, this is exactly what I'm looking for in a staff, is somebody that says, "Hey, hold on, I don't understand." And I've done even some, asking staff certain things, and people that I know that know English pretty well. And they just say, "Oh, okay, yeah." And I knew they don't understand what I said, but they still, even when they're close to you, they don't want to lose face and think that they're inferior of that. So, that's something that is definitely a challenge here. Yeah, that's good stuff. So, what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge adapting back into Denmark culture?
Oh, that's a really good question, and we are quite worried about it, to be honest. Of course, my wife is Vietnamese, and my son born and grew up in Vietnam, so it's gonna be a big challenge for us. I think the bureaucracy is gonna be very different. The way that work-life balance. When working in Denmark, you will be maybe frustrated the way that here everyone stays in the office till very late, and they are, I would say, very engaged, right? And they work super hard, and they have almost this family work experience where I don't know if, I fear that in Denmark it will be such a big gap in terms of what is kind of that family feeling you would have at work. Because it's been so many years since I was in Denmark, but at least I don't believe I had that when I worked in Denmark. So I will hope that whatever I will do in Denmark will also be that they will have the same family environment, and they will have a little bit of that engagement.
No doubt. I think about that if I go back to US, what that's going to be like for me to try to reacclimate to life, and things are moving by pretty fast.
Exactly.
Now, in logistics, have you seen AI start to come into play? Like, is that starting to affect you see opportunities where AI is going to improve things?
Absolutely. So one of our companies in the group called SoTrans is a port operator. We got the PSA in Singapore in as a strategic investor, say a year or two ago, and then we went to the Singapore port. 100% of that. They barely have a worker there. They have almost no one operating that port. It's all AI, it's all technology, it's all run. Where here we're sitting and having crane operators, etc. So that is, I think that's changing very quickly. You see robotic warehouses, you're seeing from a customer service. I think today about 10% of our entire employees doing data entry.
Okay.
So that part will of course also be taken over by AI. Actually, maybe in the logistic industry, that's one of those industries that are going to be impacted the most by AI.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Because it's all documentations,
Yes.
it's all manual labor, and every single transaction, when you send a container from Vietnam to the US, as an example, you need a bill of lading manually, almost. You need a custom clearance sheet, almost manually. You need to have go with that custom sheet to get a stamp with the customs. You need to. So the entire process around it is super kind of manual today.
Yeah.
And it is an industry where we are somehow behind, I believe, compared to other industries. There has never really been a disruptor who really, I mean, some have tried it, some have done a really good job and quite admired by them, but I think we haven't seen that yet. It's still, I think in Vietnam, there's about 3,000 logistic companies.
Wow.
Right. So, and often what happens is that there is one vendor who do the trucking. There's one vendor who do the customs. There's another vendor who book on the vessel. The vessel then owned by someone else. Yeah. That's just the Vietnam part. Then it arrives in the US. Again, you have one company doing a custom clearance, one company doing the trucking, and one company who's doing whatever paperwork processing. And so you have like 6 or 7 different companies involved when you move a container from Vietnam to US.
Wow.
Or when you're importing a container from the US as the same, right? So I think that part will have to change in our industry, and the industry also starting to consolidate more and more M&A, and I think that you will have to, our industry will change a lot by the technology side, and you either need to be very strong in technology or you need to be very strong in assets.
Yeah.
If you don't have any of it, I think 10 years down the road, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, okay. All right. I didn't think about the robotics at the port, but now it makes a lot of sense. In fact, I think that was one of the points the longshoremen that were on strike a few months back in US were complaining because their jobs are getting replaced by robots in a sense, not humanoids, but the cranes and all that's really starting to move fast. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
But it's a very good point, because a lot of these assets today are government-owned assets or union workers that works there. And of course, fully understandable, they're trying to protect their job and their union. But again, we are just in a position where the logistic industry today big part of it can be replaced by robots and AI and other type of technology tools that will somehow make the industry better and more competitive.
I think as a CEO or a leader, you really have to get on top of it now, and have to understand it and try to use it yourself, because it's coming whether we want to or not. And I mean, I think it's going to be at the point where it's a massive disruptor. It's like when the internet happened, and it's moving really fast.
Absolutely.
Now, as we get ready to wind things up, I want you to think about if Lucas watches this 30 years from now, okay? So he's there and he sees Dad on here. What's something you want to tell this 33-year-old Lucas, about how he can maybe unlock the potential he has in himself?
I might borrow a phrase from a good partner of ours that sent Lucas a book yesterday. So yesterday, Lucas received a book from the founder of a company called Flex, Paul Ryan Peterson, and he put a personal note. He's been reading this kid's book about the Suez Canal and a ship gets stuck, and then so he wrote a note where I feel was quite powerful. Is Lucas, no matter how small you are in the world, you can move big things. So and I think that is exactly what it is, right? I think that no matter you're just a small piece in the world in general, but you can still do big things, and no matter what you do, as long as you try to be the best at what you do, it doesn't matter. And also, I will also give him the advice that, again, mistakes happens. The people who don't make mistakes is people who doesn't work. So don't take them too serious, because that is what stresses all of us. Everyone who watching this, yourself, myself, we get stressed by our own mistakes or the own thing we do, but actually in a week from now, it's gone.
That's right. Doesn't matter too much.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
don't take things too serious.
Especially when you look back at your high school years or junior high years, how serious everything seemed to be. It is hard to grasp that it really isn't going to matter much.
Correct.
And it's just not two old guys talking. It's actually how things work.
Correct.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Join us today, and I hope that everyone can get a little bit out of it and what it's like to lead in different countries. So thanks again. I really appreciate you coming
so
in,
much,
Alexander.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you're finding value in these episodes, it would mean a lot if you hit subscribe, reach out in the comments, or send this one to somebody who really could use a fresh perspective on leadership. That's how we keep growing the mission to help more people unlock their potential. Until next time, lead well, live with purpose, and keep becoming the best version of yourself. Thanks for tuning in to Unlock Potential.